Hello students, welcome to another session of Law Optional Simplified. Today let us understand about Article 35A of the Indian Constitution, which dealt with the state of or the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. And Article 35A of the Indian Constitution owed its origin to Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. Now, if you go through the text of the Constitution, then you will find that Article 35A is not there. Now, this is an important aspect. So, let us understand all about Article 35A, as this article was also quoted by Chief Justice of India during the ongoing arguments in the Supreme Court regarding abrogation of Article 370 of the Constitution of India. Now, the Chief Justice highlights that Article 35A gives special rights and privileges to permanent residents. So, this article created a special set of residents referred as permanent residents, and they were given certain special rights and privileges. But these special rights and privileges were not given to the non residents. So, the Chief Justice highlights that this article also virtually took away the rights for non-residents. So effectively, by taking away or discriminating between permanent residents and non-residents, this can be said to be violative of Article 14 and 15 of the Constitution of India. And even the government of India in their arguments have highlighted this aspect. So it's important to understand about the historical genesis or evolution of Article 35A of the Indian Constitution. Now, to understand this, let's go back to 27th October 1947, when the instrument of accession was signed between Jammu and Kashmir and the government of India. And the instrument of accession provided that the government of India can make laws for Jammu and Kashmir on three matters, mainly, that is defense or aspects pertaining to defense, external affairs, and communication, along with some other matters. So, these were the areas on which the government of India could make laws for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the Constitution of India was adopted on 26 November 1949 and came into effect on 26 January 1950. Now, the representatives of Jammu and Kashmir demanded that only those provisions of the Constitution of India should be made applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which pertain to the provisions provided under instrument of accession. So this was one of the demand, and this demand was acceded to or agreed upon by incorporating Article 370 in the Indian Constitution as a temporary provision. So basically, Article 370 acted as a bridge between government of India or the implementation of the Constitution and Jammu and Kashmir. Now, effectively, we can say that Article 370 restricted the power of Parliament to make certain laws for the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and it also restricted the applicability of the entire Constitution on the state of Jammu and Kashmir. However, there was another provision with respect to presidential orders. That is, the president can issue a presidential order for modification of any provision of the Constitution of India so that such provision can be applied to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And through one of the presidential order of 1954, Article 35A was conceived. So it's important to understand that Article 35A of the Indian Constitution owed its genesis to Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, which itself was a temporary provision. And this article, that is Article 35A, did not come through a normal procedure for amendment under Article 368. And that is why the text of Article 35A has not been or was not provided for in the text of the Constitution of India. So, these provisions were also highlighted in Article 370 of the Indian Constitution, also with respect to the modifications by the President. That is, President through the presidential order can ensure application of other provisions of the Constitution in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, Article 370 now stands abrogated after the presidential order of 2019. Now, if we look at the text of Article 35A, according to the presidential order of 1954, it mentions about saving of laws with respect to permanent resident and their rights. So it creates a set of permanent residents and certain rights for those residents. So it says that it defines the classes of persons who shall be permanent residents of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So there shall be permanent residents and other class or other category of residents. So clearly there is a discrimination between the permanent residents and other residents. It then says that conferring on such permanent residents any special rights and privileges or imposing on other persons any restrictions. So on one hand, it provided for special rights and privileges to the permanent residents, and on the other hand, it could also impose restrictions on some other category of residents or non-residents. Now, the permanent residents had special rights and privileges with respect to employment under state government, acquisition of immovable property in the state, settlement in the state, or right to scholarships and such other form of aid as state government may provide. Now, another problem with respect to Article 35A was that all these provisions or all these rights and privileges for the permanent residents were immune from judicial review. These were the points which has been highlighted by the Government of India during the ongoing arguments in the Supreme Court of India. And this provision of Article 35A also corresponded to Section 6 of the erstwhile Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. So it has been argued in the Supreme Court by the central government, and some of the arguments have also been agreed upon by the Chief Justice of India, that provisions of Article 35A violated Article 19(1)(e), the erstwhile Article 19(1)(f), because Article 19(1)(f) was applicable prior to the Constitution 44th Amendment, and also the fact that Article 35A was immune from judicial review. So the Chief Justice, while concurring with the central government's arguments, stated that special privileges under Article 35A were given to the permanent residents and also stripped others of their fundamental rights. So one of the major arguments against Article 35A is that it is against fundamental rights. The Chief Justice of India further highlights that Article 35A violated Article 16(1) with respect to right to equal opportunity of state employment, as the state of Jammu and Kashmir earlier bifurcated or separated between permanent residents and non-residents of the state. So this impacted their fundamental right under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution. It also impacted right to acquire property under Article 19(1)(f). Now, Article 19(1)(f) has been highlighted because prior to Constitution 44th Amendment, Article 19(1)(f) was very much a part of the Indian Constitution. So prior to the Constitution 44th Amendment, it also impacted the fundamental rights, particularly of the non-residents. And also Article 31, which was removed or omitted by Constitution 44th Amendment. Now, Article 31 provided for compulsory acquisition of property. Further, the CGI highlighted that it also impacted right to settle in Jammu and Kashmir as per Article 19(1)(e). So it also impacted Article 19(1)(e) of the non-residents. And Article 35A had even granted immunity from judicial review to these special privileges. So these are some of the arguments which has been presented by the central government and also concurred upon by the Chief Justice of India in the ongoing arguments in the Supreme Court regarding abrogation of Article 35A. So I hope you have a better clarity about Article 35A, the fact that it owed its genesis to a temporary provision, namely Article 370, and now both Article 370 and Article 35A stands abrogated. Thank you very much.